Emma sat quietly in the backseat of the car, staring out at the world passing by. Her heart felt heavy, burdened by the weight of loss and uncertainty. At just 10 years old, she had experienced more pain than most do in a lifetime. The tragic accident that had taken her parents had also stolen her sense of security, leaving her to navigate a world that suddenly felt foreign and unkind. Since then, she had been in and out of foster homes, each one promising stability but never truly delivering it. Families came and went, hesitant to take on the responsibility of a child with a medical condition. Emma had type 1 diabetes, a condition that required constant attention and regular medication. Unfortunately, it had made her adoption process much more challenging. Families were often afraid of the medical costs involved. Emma clutched a small notebook she carried everywhere, a safe space where she wrote her dreams, fears, and hopes. She had learned early on that hope was a fragile thing, and she protected it as best she could. She sighed as a car pulled up to the hospital, another routine checkup, another reminder of how different she was from the other kids. Inside the hospital, she sat on the examination table as a doctor checked her insulin levels. Mrs. Thompson, her caseworker, stood nearby, speaking softly to one of the nurses. Emma had grown used to this. Medical tests, concerned whispers, and the quiet judgment in people's eyes when they learned about her condition. But today was different. A sudden commotion outside her room caught her attention. The door opened, and a man walked in, tall, with kind eyes and a familiar face. Emma's breath hitched. Keanu Reeves. She had seen him in movies, heard stories about his generosity, but she never imagined meeting him in person. He smiled at her and sat down beside the bed. "Hey there, Emma. I heard you're quite the fighter." Emma blinked, unsure how to respond. Why was he here? What did he want? Keanu leaned closer and gently held her hand. "This is not your fault, Emma. It's not something you chose, and it should never be something that stops you from having a family who loves you." She looked down at the floor, embarrassed. But Keanu's gaze never wavered. He turned to Mrs. Thompson, his expression serious and resolute. "If the issue is a medical cost, maybe I can help with that." Both Emma and Mrs. Thompson stared at him, surprised and hopeful but unsure of what exactly he meant. Keanu continued, his voice firm but filled with empathy. "I can't change her past, but I can make sure her future is a little easier. I want to cover all of Emma's medical expenses. Every single one. For life." Mrs. Thompson blinked in disbelief. "Mr. Reeves, that's an incredibly generous gesture, but it's a huge commitment." Keanu smiled faintly. "I have the resources, and it's the least I can do for someone so brave. Emma deserves a chance to have a full life without something as simple as money standing in her way." Emma, still confused, looked at him. "You're saying you're going to take care of me even if I go to another family?" she asked hesitantly. Keanu leaned in, holding her hand. "Yes, little one. No matter where you are, I'll make sure you have everything you need to live well. You deserve that." In the days that followed, Keanu worked with the hospital and Mrs. Thompson to establish a fund for Emma. He ensured that all her medical expenses, from purchasing insulin to regular checkups and emergency care, would be fully covered. Mrs. Thompson was astonished by his dedication. He not only financed the fund, but also took the time to meet the doctors and understand Emma's treatment plan. "I want to make sure she gets the best care possible," he said while carefully reviewing her medical reports. A day before Emma was discharged from the hospital, Keanu had a heartfelt conversation with her. Sitting beside her bed, he looked into her eyes and said, "Emma, you're stubborn, determined, and incredibly brave. Those are your greatest strengths. Never let anyone tell you otherwise, okay?" Emma smiled shyly, but her expression was filled with admiration. "Do you really think I'm strong?" Keanu nodded. "Absolutely. You've been through so much, and you're still here, fighting. That's something not everyone can do. You have a bright future, Emma. Use your stubbornness to chase your dreams." With the medical expenses resolved, Emma's adoption became much more feasible. Mrs. Thompson shared the news that a family had already expressed interest in meeting her, but had hesitated because of the financial burden. Now, with the fund Keanu had created, that concern had been eliminated. "They are wonderful people, Emma," Mrs. Thompson said. "I'm sure they'll love you." Emma clutched the note Keanu had left in her hand. reading the words over and over. Keep being strong and determined. The world is yours, Emma. As she waited anxiously, the door to her hospital room opened, and a new family entered with warm smiles. They carried flowers and a stuffed animal, looking nervous but genuinely happy to meet her. A woman spoke softly. "Hello, Emma. My name is Sarah, and this is my husband, Tom. We've been very excited to meet you." Emma looked at them cautiously, but there was something comforting in their voices and the way they looked at her, as if she were the most important person in the world. Tom extended the teddy bear to Emma. "We hope you like this. We thought he could be your companion while you rest." Emma carefully took the teddy bear, staring at it for a moment before replying quietly, "Thank you." The following days were full of changes for Emma. She was discharged from the hospital and taken to her new home, a cozy place with walls painted in cheerful colors and a room decorated just for her. Sarah and Tom made every effort to show that she was welcome, always attentive to her needs and respecting the time she needed to adjust. One evening, as Sarah tucked her into bed, she said softly, "Emma, we love you just as you are. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. It had been so long since she had heard those words. She hugged Sarah tightly, whispering, "Thank you." One day, Emma sat at her desk, writing a letter to Keanu. She wanted to thank him for everything he had done. She wrote about her new life, how she was slowly learning to trust again, and how much his kindness had meant to her. She also shared how she had joined a school club for young writers, determined to tell stories that could inspire others just as he had inspired her. As the days passed, Emma flourished in her new home. She found joy in little things, helping Sarah cook, playing board games with Tom, and even making friends at school. Every now and then, she would clutch her notebook and write about her journey, never forgetting the kindness that had changed her life. For the first time since losing her parents, Emma felt like she had found a home. She knew she was loved and safe, and that was all she had ever wanted. Sometimes, all it takes to change someone's life is an act of kindness. Be the difference in someone's life.